Good morning, everybody. How are you? I'm great. Thank you for asking. We're back with another video, guys. Today we're going to train legs. We're back with the squats. So as you guys know, I did 200 for 6 last time, and I was like 115-ish kilos. I'm now 111.9, so the mini cut has been progressing well. We started the mini cut, I think it's 3 weeks Sunday ago, and I'm down 6 kilos. So I'm down about 2 kilos a week. We've got to consider the first 2 or 3 kilos of that came off pretty much in a couple of days because of glycogen in the system, water in the system, and just food in the digestive system. So guys, whenever you're making an adjustment up or down in food, consider the actual amount of food, right? So if we got 500 calories, it's 500 calories, which is this number that we give food, but there's more weight of food, right? It's the actual amount of food that you're eating is more, therefore there's more inside you, which means then when you stand on the scales, there's still food in you, which means you weigh more. So yeah, that was the initial couple of kilos that we lost, but we're feeling good. 111.9. I'll do a physique update a little bit later on today, so you guys can see where I'm headed. But I'm feeling good. Like I'm feeling this is the best I've ever looked. I'm feeling this is the most muscle I've ever had. I'm feeling this is the best I've ever looked at this weight, considering that I had to come up this way. But I think we'll get another 3 or 4 kilos off, maybe 107-ish, and then we can kind of come back up. But it's been epic so far. On we go. In other news, Assassin's Creed Valhalla just got announced, which is pretty cool. I love the Odyssey and the Origins, so they should come out in June, which I'm excited for. Pre-workout today, we're going in for Reignite. Now this is the sister company of the company that I work with. They brought out their own brand, but this is a really, really good complex. It's got some good citrulline malate in there, some beta-alanine at a good clinical dose, tyrosine for some focus, alpha-side for some pump, caffeine obviously at 300 milligrams, which is quite nice, and there's a little bit of dicaffeine malate as well at 100 grams. So you're getting about 375 grams of caffeine in this. Guarana at another stimulant, and some extras. This is Tropicandi flavour, and it's very nice. So we're going to come into the first exercise. We're going to do single leg extensions. Obviously you've been seeing me do these on a band with a cuff, so I'm going to do the same thing but with the cable machine. I've also incorporated one of these to kind of pad myself a little bit, and I can get a little bit more flexion at the knee. I can sit myself up a little bit and I can get a full range, and I can fully extend through the knee. This is just a glute ham raise pad, nothing special. So we're gonna warm up on the squats. Same principle as last time. 60 kilo, 100 kilo, 140, 180. See how we get on. I'm a lot lighter, feeling a lot weaker, so we'll see how we get on. So we got 200 on the bar again. If you guys remember, I did 200 for 6 last time. I'm gonna take 200.4 because of the bands. Because the bands count as a couple 100 grams, so I'm going a little bit of progression. If we can get 7 again, 6-ish, I'll be very, very happy, because obviously we can take that I'm a lower body weight but lifting the same weight, so the power to body weight ratio is increasing despite my weight coming down. So let's see how we fucking go. And you can see my legs, I've got so much more left, but my back on that last one, like I feel upright, and I just slowly crumple. And that's the limitations of a squat, is that you can't transfer that kinetic energy from the legs all the way through the body, because the back's not as strong as, you know, the lumbar is not as strong as the legs. So 200%, we'll take it. So we're on to, we've done our squats. Now we're gonna just annihilate our quads. Now this is something that you guys can really actually relate to. I realize not all of you have a squat rack, not all of you have a cable machine you can play with, but what you can do is find yourself a nice big heel raise. I'm fortunate enough to get one of these, or fortunate enough, I bought one of these, I should say, which raises your heels. I've obviously got heels on as well, so I'm gonna be at a pretty decent slant. But what that slant is gonna allow me to do is it's gonna allow me to get in some really big knee flexion without loading my back, without loading anything like that. You guys can use plates, you can use water bottles, whatever it is, just to raise your heel up, just to increase that knee flexion. And you're gonna get a lot of tension on here. We're gonna do 1 minute static wall hold. We're gonna hold here. We're gonna focus on the internal focus in the quads, focusing on flaring them out, really putting a lot of pressure through them. We're then gonna band under our feet with 2 of these bands. I did the green band last time, so I wanna progress it with another band. And we're gonna go into 4-second eccentrics with the foam roller behind us. So the foam roller is gonna be on, the bands are gonna be under, and we're gonna go 1, 2, and you see how easy it is for me to get my knees forward. 3, 4, press back up, and then we're gonna do that for another 60 seconds. So we've got a 60-second wall static hold into a banded. This is all about tension, destruction of the quads. Put as much tension through the quads as you can, and you can really use this anywhere. If you've got a band, perfect. If you haven't, hold something. Control your tempos. If it's still too easy doing 4 seconds down, do 4 seconds up. There's plenty of things that we can play with in terms of tension, in terms of time, tempo, all those type of things. So this is going to be our penultimate exercise. We're nearly done here. So. So we're going to finish up here on calf raises. Now obviously we've got the occlusion bands on. We're occluding at the top of the gastrocnemius, which is the calf, so that we're essentially going to allow blood flow in, but we're going to cut the blood flow out, and we're just going to take the same principles as we usually do. 3 sets of 30 reps ish, if we can manage it. 30-second rest, obliteration, done. Probably can't even finish these because they're so painful, but we're going to do them. So I'm going to finish up this video with a little bit of a spiel, because I get asked this quite a lot, and I think that I've never really given it a direct answer. So I think I'm going to do this the best justice that I can. There's a few things to consider. The question is, Josh, how many sets should I do per week for what muscle part? Now, the first thing to consider is there's individual differences in what I'm about to say, right? So it's never going to be exact. It's going to be there or thereabouts, you know, and the individual difference is gonna change things, and it can change things drastically for some people. So we've got to consider a few things. So there's a few terms I want to say now. These are pretty much coined by Mike Israetel, the Renaissance periodization team, and it's one of the minimal effective volume, maximal recoverable volume. So the minimum amount that it takes to elicit a hypertrophy change or to keep that muscle, and then the maximum amount that you can do and just recover. That's going to be like a scale right here, right? A couple sets or whatever it is, and then up to like 20 sets or whatever it is. And you want to be on that scale somewhere. And the further and further up on that scale to your maximal recoverable volume that you get, potentially the bigger hypertrophy gains that you're going to get. But of course, you're going to build some fatigue up with that. Now, when we look more directly into kind of how many sets we should be looking, there's a general consensus on the amount of sets, and obviously it's going to vary per body part, because some are bigger body parts, some are smaller body parts, some can tolerate a little bit more, some can tolerate a little bit less. Now, but in general, the bigger body parts, you can be looking at anywhere between 10 and 20 sets. I know that's a big rep range, 10 and 20 sets per week. The average is 15, so there's something to go off for yourself. Now, something to consider here is the intensity that you're going to be working at. You could do a scale of 0 to 10. 10 is going to come at the caveat of a lot of fatigue, so probably the closer to that 10, you know, we said 10 to 20 sets, the closer to those 10 sets you're probably going to be. And then the further down the scale in terms of RPE, the rate of perceived exertion, or reps in reserve, how many reps you're leaving in the tank when you leave. If 10 was failure, 7 is going to be you leaving 3 reps in the tank. The more along those sets you're going to do. So if you were someone who was leaving 3 reps in the tank on each set, you could probably look at doing somewhere between 15, 16, 17, up to 20 reps. And you'd want to go probably start on the lower end of that scale and then slowly add a set in week on week and just find the position where you're not progressing anymore. And then on the other end of the spectrum, in terms of it low volume, which is what I do, and I absolutely love it because I love pushing myself to the boundaries. I love pushing myself to that 10 out of 10 intensity and knowing that what I put in is better than last week, and I know that that tissue's there. I like that mentally. You're going to be much lower on those sets. So my chest, I'm looking about 10, 12 sets, and then I'll work that up towards 15. Something like a bicep or tricep potentially could take a little bit more volume, but you'd probably want to be starting that between 8 and 10 sets and working that up to potentially 20 sets a week. You know, if you can really handle, I know people who can really handle volume on their arms, continue to recover, don't have too much soreness, don't have any joint pain, can actually progressively overload those sets. You're fine, you know. But as soon as one of these things starts to creep in that we track, that may potentially be a site for too much volume, which is going to be fatigue. Progression's going to be hard. You're going to feel sluggish. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel basically burdened. Maybe your appetite goes down and things like that because you've just built up too much fatigue from the heavy weight. So this is where either your volume needs to come down, or your intensity needs to come down, or something needs to change to find that volume. So to clarify, things like chest, legs, and whatnot, anywhere between 10 and 20 sets. Yeah, you can break down your quads and hamstrings however you want to, but anywhere between 10 and 20 sets. Start low and then work up and find your boundary. Anything with a smaller muscle, rear delts, anything like that, start with 8 to 10 and then work up with the same principle. The issue is no one's got the patience to wait around and find out what their volume is. Everyone wants the answer now, and everyone wants to know, how can I build the biggest this now? How can I build the biggest that now? It's, well, you need to find out what works for you best. I know that for me, my chest grows off relatively low volumes. I can get away with just 6 sets a session, so I'm doing about 12 a week and I'm growing really, really well, getting strong really, really well. As soon as I go a little bit higher, that progression starts to slow. As soon as I start to throw into too many overhead presses and horizontal presses, it starts to slow. And those are things that I've picked up over, you know, nearly a decade of lifting now. And these are the things that I want you to start making the connecting the dots with, which movements are fatiguing you where, and being careful about that and staying within that minimal effective volume up to your maximal recoverable volume. Now, if you guys, I think you guys should follow Mike Gisodow. He has a great array of knowledge on training, stimulus, volume, frequency, all that kind of stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed that little segment. We're going to end the video there. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you soon. Peace.